Oh, yeah. Welcome to a new year. We are the Ref Room, live from Chicago. I am Scott Smokin Silz, along with our referee-in-chief, Brad Baumruck, and our very special guest today, the legendary head coach and hockey director for one of the top teams in the Chicagoland area, which is St. Ignatius College Prep. Mr. Spencer Montgomery joins us. Welcome back.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. We're going to talk some hockey today. We've been off for, weeks, it seems like. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but I needed that break. Normally I don't say that, but I am really glad I got that break because getting back on the ice was refreshing again. It was nice to be back out there. So very happy that we did get a little time off. And even my squirt team got some time off. So that was kind of nice for all of us here. You guys kept playing, I understand, Spence. I hear you guys are on the ice all the time, no matter what. So that's...
Yeah, we play in both that Scholastic Hockey League and the Catholic Hockey League. So that ends up around 60 games with nothing else attached to it. So we have to be intentional with our schedule. That being said, we were off from the 12/23 to January. Yeah, so we did have an opportunity for people to put their toes in the sand a little bit or just be with their families. So an important reset. As coaches, it felt good coming back to the rink. And this is this is the final stretch for high school hockey where you got to get your team dialed and you got to ascend. And for seniors and your time is running out. They know that they got 6 weeks, 8 weeks left in their hockey career sometimes. So it's a meaningful time period and exciting to do it right.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. You're putting it in their career. That is accurate. That's really scary to say that. You think, well, the season's ending and you just keep going. But, yeah, for the seniors, a lot of them won't play college, and this will be it. They'll be, sitting on the sideline for a couple of years waiting for men's league to get that call.
Yeah, and we have a lot to do. No, we have a lot to do. I would say, 60, 70%. But by the time you get to their senior year of college, that number's down to, let's say 25, 30% that are stuck with it. So, and it just doesn't meet as much. You don't have the students, you don't have teachers, you don't have everybody in the stands. I love ACH hockey. I think it's awesome. I think, as many kids as possible should do it and continue to play. But the amount that it just means more in high school, to be honest. I mean, you have more people that really care about it.
Yeah, so true. I mean, obviously, your goal is to get to the United Center this year, where we have 5 games, not 3. We have 5 games this year, and
a long day.
What do you think? Who are the odds-on favorites to be at the United Center from the Scholastic League?
I mean, I think GVN. You have to start with Neutral Green. They until someone knocks them off, they're the king of the hill. And they prove it year in, year out. We've had real tight battles. We've had 3 1-goal games against them. We were able to beat them in that O'Grady final, 5 overtimes. But they come at you with 4 lines of depth and really well coached and they play hard. So always a tough out. UBN is right up there. There's an incredible goalie in Riderman and some real high end talent. And again, another really well coached team that you can't give them a lead. You can't chase against those guys. So they're really strong. Viator, they come at you in waves, really heavy forecheck, and they fly the zone. They're trying to get those 2-on-1s and they can bury pucks. And I think UBS is in the hunt as well. That's a team we've had more success against, but perennially they're at the top 5 in the league, and you always got to be on your game when you play.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I've worked a few of the New Trier games this year. I had the one against Green and Gold that I lined, and they're just ferocious. I mean, they just literally just keep coming after you. They don't stop. They not only beat them on the scoreboard, but physically really took it to them. I was very impressed by what I saw, and that's not the only time I've seen that this year. Viator looks impressive to me. I've seen him play some really big games over at Mount Prospect and rise to the occasion, and they just seem to fight and fight and fight. Unfortunately, I haven't seen your team because I haven't been going down to Fifth Third in a while, but I hear really good things, and I know that you guys are going to be right in the hunt when it comes down to it. And then you've got Glenbrook North, GBN, and they're going to be making a coaching change next year. So wouldn't that be interesting if they ended up getting to the finals and make a run for the championship? with knowing there's a coaching change coming next year, I mean, that would be something to talk about. Yeah, I mean, they've got something to play for.
Yeah, the politics of hockey can be rough. If you don't, the coaching position, people get put on the hot seat.
Yeah,
In my opinion, Evan's done an incredible job with that program. I went, I wish he was going on more on his terms, but this is the way that hockey it can be cruel sometimes. And he's got them in position to compete once again for a state championship, and I think that's a sign of program success. You have to look at the culture. You can't look at 1 year. You have to look at longevity. You have to look at the 10-year window, 5-year window. Next season will
yeah,
be my 10th season at Ignatius, which it's flown by. But it means a lot to me. And, it's really cool how competitive. Loyola's in the mix as well at the top there. It's really exciting that really I think there's 7, 8 teams that could win a state championship. And that kind of parity is exciting. That's what draws people to leagues. I mean, that's why the NHL is so great. It's because in a 7-game series, it can be anybody's ball game. We saw the Kings do it twice as the 8th seed. I mean, and you get in and you just don't know.
yeah.
Yep.
And especially one game, one and done can be really a nerve-wracking situation to be in, especially, you've beaten a team a few times during the year. It's very hard to continue to beat teams that you're playing close games with. They are going to try to get up and bite you if they possibly can. So
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. And goaltending matters a lot in single elimination. Sometimes your goalie needs to step up and give you consistency, but it's a buy into your process. You're gonna get punched in the mouth. How can you respond? Are you able to respond without losing your cool, without panicking, without letting the pressure get to you?
yeah, I can't believe you've been there.
Scott, it's just like at the end of the season where you're, the team that's beaten the other teams a bunch of times, right? And then you play the last place team in the league and you coast into it. And then guess what? They beat you. And guess what? It affects you when you're going into that playoff spot for your league. So, it's a tough time all around at the end of the year. It doesn't matter who you're playing in this stretch. If you lose to anybody, it's hard for you. So it's definitely a time to work hard, always.
For sure.
That's the culture element. How do you respond? How do you respond when things don't go your way? Because at some point in a state championship run, you're going to be down a couple goals, or someone's going to tie a game. And so that failure response system is going to be critical to being able to outlast.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe we're already almost at playoff time. That's what blows my mind. I mean, think about it. We start playoffs. What is it? The end of this month or the start of next month, Brad?
First week of February.
Leagues,
First week. Yeah.
Most of the high school leagues are going to be starting their playoffs the 23rd of January.
Wow.
That's what it looks like for the other ones. So that's what it looks like. 23rd of January, a lot of them are going to start to kick off.
That is amazing. Yeah, it's already here. It goes so fast.
I know we close the season on February 2nd against New Trier, and then it'll be playoffs that next week. So I know for the Catholic and SHL, it looks like it's going to be that 7th and 8th. I think that's the championship game with March 16th, which gave a little bit more room. But the goal for league is to be done by the time you get to the semis in high school, because it's tough to balance. We lost that game to York last year in overtime to go to the United Center, and then the next night we're playing for the Kennedy Cup. It can be difficult to manage your emotions. I got a very upset locker room, and you got to kind of bounce back and play a hockey game for something that still really matters the next day. So it's that's one of the things that both leagues are trying to remedy, is to make sure that once it gets down to it with the state tournament, teams are able to really focus on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, are you the only team that's playing in both leagues?
No, Fenwick as well.
Fenwick does too. Yeah. Yeah.
But and with the UC game being pushed forward to the 9th, that's where it really got stuck, and that just happened to be because Nationals got pushed forward. And unfortunately, the United Center is a great venue. They enjoy having us. The Blackhawks enjoy putting it on. But guess what? Unfortunately, they have concerts and stuff that are already booked out. So that was the first available time that they could get them in. So, we're blessed to always be there. That's one thing. And then with the 5 games, it's an even longer day that they needed. It's tough. So it moved everybody up. But I get it, Spence. I've been referee in some of those games where a team's been knocked out and the state stuff, and then they got to play the next day. Or I had one season we refereed the quarterfinals, I think, of 2 teams, and then the next night they were playing the finals for, might have been the Catholic League. The same 2 teams. They played back-to-back nights.
Wow.
Right. It's just not.
It's not cohesive, unfortunately, sometimes. So.
Yeah. It's just
And the date is officially moved to the 9th of March, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 games.
That's what I got moved to.
So we're
5
going to see
games.
some teams
Brad,
that we haven't seen at the United Center before this year. So.
Brad will
What
be
they
there
added
all day.
JV. They added JV, and what's the other ad?
Girls.
They added both JV games. So it was the
Oh.
varsity combined, varsity red, the women's, and then so now they're going to have the JV combined and the JV varsity at the UC as well. So this is the first year we're going to be doing it. It's going to be a long day for me. I'll be there. So if you want to come by and say hi, I'll be in the tunnel. You can wave at me.
So we're rooting for overtimes.
Let's see.
It's a long drive from the United Center to my house.
So you can
But,
you can look like this. He'll
There
be
he is.
just up.
Yeah.
There he is. Say that's how
Let's
you're
get-
supposed to do it, right?
Let's get you on the ice.
Yeah. I did the combined game in 14. I think it was 14 or 15. So that was
Yeah, I
the
still
last
would have
year
been with the Blackhawks.
yeah, you would have been. And that was the last year that we used one referee, 2 lines for that game.
I think Providence was
games.
in it, but I'm not 100%. I think Providence at that time was the line.
I know who reffed it. I don't remember who played in it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good history. We're at Ignatius. One cool thing, talking about next year being 10 years, it's just it's just being able to kind of witness and be a part of the growth. I mean, when we came in, we were probably 60th in the state, and slowly, milestones getting the Kennedy Cup was a huge deal. 3 years ago, now we've won that 3 in a row, and now we've set our sights on this new goal. But when you look back at the history of Illinois high school hockey, there's such fluctuation. I mean, Mount Carmel was dominant, and there are these teams that really had great runs, and now that's shifted. So it's just it's fun to track, and we want to etch our name in the history books for sure.
How much recruiting do you get to do to bring players to your school? I mean, you guys are a phenomenal school as far as education goes and everything, and you're in the city, so there's a lot of demand for good schools there. Does that affect your ability to bring students in? I mean, I'm sure they have to have a high GPA to get in there or test to get in there. And how does that work?
I mean, financially, you have to be able to afford Ignatius. No one's hiding the fact that it's a privilege to be able to go to a school like that. It's not really a wonderful place to be educated, but there's a cost that comes with it. And then, and then living in the city, how is your kid going to be able to get to prep, get to the city for school? That's the logistics. So, I can't go to kids that it's more difficult to recruit if a kid doesn't have a family member that win or some sort of heritage. To drive in from, say, like a Hinsdale is a bigger deal. Because
gotta go down 290.
They got to get on the train. Yeah. So that's definitely a factor. My recruiting is mostly checking out, doing AA games, staying in touch with families. I run from camp under my kind of banner in the summer, so I get to know kids. But the recruiting for us is our culture, and it's kind of walking the walk. We believe, when kids come and check out one of our games, and there's 500 kids from the school there, and teachers are being honored, and there's a real buzz around it. It makes you say, all right, this means a little bit more. This is going to be a 4-year experience that I can buy into, and so we've seen some success doing it that way.
Now you're playing out of Fifth Third Arena, so we'll give them a plug because the banner is right behind there since
Yeah,
they
it's right
provided
there.
the
You might
nice
as well
room
just
for
go
you
with it.
today. But they're in the process. If you've not been to Fifth Third Arena, for the people around the country that watch the show that don't know, like that's the Blackhawks practice facility. They've got 2 rinks there currently, but they are now building 2 more rinks there. They are going to have 4 rinks, which we don't have anybody else in Chicago with 4 rinks. I don't believe. I mean, maybe 2 sheets, 3 sheets, and I don't think anybody's even got 3 in a studio. So
Orland's planning on adding a sheet.
Yeah, but I
'Cause
thought they had to get past the parking situation before they could put the fourth sheet in. That's not the case?
No, they built the ice plant for it.
Okay, cool. I don't get down to Orland, just so you know. That's like the opposite side of the world for me. So I know that's your
my
territory.
house.
Well, what's happening? So, like, we've got a bunch of rinks coming in because now we've talked about Rosemont getting 2 more sheets for the Wolves and for the Mission Girls. And the walls are up. So that is well underway. That should be ready by next year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They're moving. Park Ridge has been down for a year for a remodel. That is looking really good. That is, I drove by there the other day. They're like, should be ready for next season. Lockport is supposed to be getting 2 sheets, the Crush and the Cougars.
It's supposed to open December 1st.
Yeah. So, but then somebody told me that it's going to be a dome.
What
Is
year?
that true?
What year?
Yeah.
It's going to be a dome. Yes.
It's going to be. How long does it put a dome up, man? Like the bubble? Are we talking about like Highland Park Deerfield used to be years ago?
Yes.
I think it was Highland Park. The one that blew down 294, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever that was.
You are correct. That was Highland Park before they built the permanent structure. You are 100% correct.
So, I can't believe that took
just
them
like
that long. Like you could put that up in a couple weeks, I would think. You know, refrigeration and a dome shouldn't be that difficult.
I'm sure the concrete probably is the issue.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And then Polar Dome is getting ready to reopen. So if you don't know about Polar Dome, that place was legendary
Can we talk
from
about the
a
Polar Dome?
long time ago.
Spence, you've been here only 10 years. Have you ever been to the Polar Dome?
I don't
In
think
Santa's
so.
Village?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So the place is legendary. All right. Number 1. Number 2, the best part about it is that would be, I think the east wall, Scott. Would that be the east wall, the one that's in the lobby there? I think it's the east wall, but it doesn't really matter. But it's one side of the rink. It's the long side of the rink, right? So the whole stretch. And instead of having boards like you normally would, it's just a wall. They built the boards into the wall. So the boards are a wall, and then imagine like a house window being above it for glass with plexiglass into it, and they just keep going up the wall. So
it's modeled after Rainbow Arena, okay?
So the real interesting part about it is I've refereed there a million times. Other than the referee room being upstairs on these wood stairs that are slippery as heck. You can't believe it. It's unbelievable. But there's a shelf about 30 feet in the air, okay? That's what the referees use. That's out of play. If it hits underneath the shelf, it's in play. If it goes over the shelf, it's out of play. It's really a wild experience, let me tell you. And I remember getting hit into those boards playing high school. They don't move. It's like hitting a solid brick wall.
It is
terrible.
a brick wall.
It's terrible. Yeah. But it is an experience. The Polar Dome was one of those rinks growing up as a kid, hated by parents because it was built as an outdoor rink and they just threw some walls around it. And it pretty much just was an outdoor rink. It just whipped around. So, but I can't imagine anybody really wanting to play there. But if you want an experience, it's the place to go. Let me tell you, you can catch a show afterwards.
So speaking of Fifth Third, you probably know better. So we're going to ask you since you're there. I understand that one of those rinks will be full, like a stadium rink. Is that correct? Where you'll have seating, 360 seating.
Yeah, that's my understanding, and my hope, and I can't speak for the Blackhawks or anybody else, but my hope is that we'll be able to play high school semifinals in this rink. It's going to have seating. It's going to have great ice. It's a premier location. I'm not 100%, but I think there's potential that the Steel are going to move down here, and that is going to create more hockey buzz right here in the city. The 4 rinks plus Johnny's on either side gives this area a unique opportunity to host tournaments and to show people the city of Chicago. This 1901 project, that's $8 billion, $7 billion investment in this community. And that includes an outdoor skating rink, between the United Center and these rinks and a bunch of other things that, the hope is to make this the next Wrigleyville. And, that's where really excited kind of where we are with Ignatius, uniquely positioned. I've got this hockey bar, the barn. So excited to have this area continue to grow, and it's great for hockey in the city. I was talking to you earlier, Scott. I just hope that the youth hockey numbers can support it. It's not all on the Blackhawks' success. We need USA Hockey and coaches and programs need to create opportunities to get kids on the ice, at that mite age and to make them fall in love with the sport. So that's a real priority to me. You can have as many ice sheets as you want, but you got to fill them.
Well, let's just back up. What's it called? The 1901 project? Is that what you call it? 1907? What is it?
1901 project.
1901 project. It's like a $7 billion renovation in that area that's going to bring all this into the area already where the United Center and Fifth Third and everything in between will flow to this. So it's quite a project for the people that are outside of Chicago that don't know what we're talking about. But this will be major. And but at the end of the day, whether they build that or other rinks, if the Blackhawks don't start winning, it's not good for youth hockey.
Here we go.
Sorry.
Scott's he's on the box.
Yeah. The Hawks need to win. Our success for hockey is partially driven by having a winning team. When the Cubs won the World Series, a lot of kids started playing baseball. Fortunately, it only happens once every 100 years. But
12.
Yeah, 112 years. Yeah, exactly. But the Hawks, if
hockey
they
has
start
the ability
winning,
to galvanize. I feel like hockey has the ability to galvanize unlike any other sport. I mean, when I moved to Chicago in 2014, early 14, to work for the Blackhawks. But every bar, every home game, games on the TVs, everyone's wearing jerseys. There was a around sport. And to be honest, it made it so you wanted to go, whether you're a big hockey fan or not, you wanted to go to the United Center to see the Blackhawks to kind of catch the wave. And so, that's a combination of marketing the players and, some of the guys we had with Kane and Taves and Seabrook and Keith and Sharpie and other guys that just kind of took this city by the years. They were visible, they were out and about. And, I think that's a recipe for success. So I'd like to see, regardless of winning, I'd love to see this current group get out in Chicago a little bit more. And, and I know Nick Foligno was over with his sons on his two kids are on Jets hockey team. They came by our spot, and so he's doing a great job. I'd like to see more guys kind of getting out and about and showing the community that the Blackhawks are here.
Yeah, big time. So you want to talk a little bit about some checking, I understand. That's something that was on your mind that you wanted to discuss, because I guess you got a couple big boys on your team and you wanted to run a few questions by.
Yeah, as a coach, I think as we adapt to rules and we try to protect our players, particularly with injuries and things like that, teaching body checking is evolving. A couple of strategies I use, trying to keep, stick on the ice, trying to make a play on the puck. Those are things that are going to help you stay out of the penalty box. It's been a little bit harder for my bigger players getting called for elbows every time they make a hit, things like that, just because, sometimes their shoulder and arm is lining up against someone else's. And so I don't know what, your guys' thoughts on best ways to teach kids how to hit the right way, particularly the big boys.
You want to answer that, Brad?
Yeah, so the issue is the bigger players have to learn to adapt to make that hit. It's kind of like the equivalent to baseball, right? Okay, when they're throwing pitches for strikes and balls, right? The player's body, it's from their shoulder to their knees, is the strike zone. So in hockey, the hitting zone is still the same thing, from the hip to the shoulder. So they have to deliver that hit. Unfortunately, they're bigger. Sorry, that's the one part of the rules. The contact primarily cannot be to the head. If you hit to the head, go into the box. We're sorry to tell you that. The one big thing a lot of guys do too, the bigger guys are able to do it more, is they're able to use that arm or both of their arms at the same time. The second you extend your arms now in USA Hockey, when you're making a hit and completing it, you've now taken a penalty. Because at that point, you're no longer making a play for the puck anymore. That follows the IAHF guidelines. So that would be the big thing. Got to keep those hands down. We can't push through anymore. But the big thing is, with the big players, the tough thing is they're going to have to bend those knees and they're going to have to use that shoulder. That's the way that
or
you
the
got to
hips.
deliver that hit.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part too is as hockey has evolved, the contact to the head has changed. So we call it a lot more. But the other thing is too is players can get elbowing penalties without making contact to the head. You're not allowed to hit somebody with your elbow. So a lot of guys don't even recognize that. And the bigger guys can actually limit this by just making sure that their arm is tucked in to their body. That's one thing that I've seen. Some of the really big guys that I've seen that are good at making these big hits, they tuck their arm in, and then when they do make the hit, yeah, they are taller than them, but the primary contact then with their elbow hits into their shoulder. So now there's
no longer the chicken wing. The chicken wing hanging out there.
Yeah, the second you got this out there, it's a death sentence if you hit somebody. So
Brad,
that's
how much are we putting on the player receiving the check? So if a player has a puck, I had an incident in a game the other day where a player is literally lowering their hip, maybe like how they tell receivers, how they tell linebackers or safeties not to do in the NFL, where you're lowering your head, but they're with the puck lowering their head. It's hard in those scenarios. I'm a little worried that we're not putting any onus on player receiving the check and the player themselves.
So that follows the guidelines from NCAA, IHF. The player making the hit, it's on them. They're the ones that have to make that hit clean. It's just like as you've seen the rules change where you can't blindside a player. If a player's coming down the ice and he's looking the other way, you can't blindside hit him. It's a penalty. It's just the way it is. The game's gotten so fast and the players have gotten so much bigger that those are the things that cause players to be concussed or seriously injured. And the game wants to eliminate that for their player skill level. They want to keep those best players on the ice so that your team is healthy. Is it going to happen? Yes. Is it going to be penalized? We hope so. And, it's only been a hitting onus now for 3 years now, I believe. 3 or 4. Boy, time does roll by fast, Spence. I didn't realize you were there for 10 years. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But I've known you the whole 10 years, so it doesn't seem like that long ago. But yeah, even the officials are still getting the hang of it. Enhanced enforcement started almost 20 years ago, somewhere in there, 15, 20 years ago. And, it took enhanced enforcement about 8 or 9 years for players to really learn that you can't clutch and grab, you can't use the stick. And now our game is pretty free of that. If you go watch games from, when I played in the late 90s, and, guys were holding you, skating down the ice. Like, they had their stick all over you, their hands all over you, and it was just a different game that we played. So as the game evolves, the players have to evolve, but then the officials have to evolve. Everybody has to evolve together. Then we get to this great spot, and then here comes hockey again with this another grand idea, which I understand we want to always evolve the game, and I'm one of the traditionalists. I want to leave the game alone. But when I look at some things, I do understand why they do them and why they put them in there. If you look at USA, okay, with where players can't shoot the puck in when they're offsides, right? The onus was that in the ADM model for defensemen to handle the puck more. The USA team that plays in the Worlds, they're the best puck-handling defensive team by far compared to anybody. And it's because they're forced to do it here in youth hockey where they're not forced everywhere else. So it really benefits those guys. Does it benefit, the high school level? I don't know. But you get where I'm going with it. The idea of hockey, where stepping stones are, is to develop into that national team and then move them on beyond this. So that's where I would go with most of it, unfortunately, is we're trying to develop. And it's always an ongoing thing, and that we can say one thing, and then it'll change next week. And then we're on to another thing.
We've talked about this a lot. When we talk about the development, if you put a bunch of AAA kids out on the ice and you teach them to do something different and they want change happens pretty quickly. Probably after a period, they've probably already figured it out and nailed it. Put a house league team out there, and they still haven't figured it out. You know what I mean? They're just out there having fun. Like, it's a different hockey. It's different hockey IQ. Yeah. Yeah. So, unfortunately, there's probably more of those games with House League than there is with AAA. So it's one of those things where it becomes a little more challenging, time-wise for the officials, and it becomes frustrating sometimes. And I understand that for people. I get it. But yeah, you got to find the common area there that we can work on and make better. So
that was a long-winded
What about
answer.
yeah? What about we've seen with Patrick Laine, for example, at the beginning of the year, and then there was a hit on Connor Zary last night on Calgary, and kneeing hit. I don't know if either of you saw that, but it seems like there's been a little bit more of those kneeing calls. There was one in World Junior Canada hit. The guy, I think it was Czechia. I'm the same here, I see that a lot more. What are you looking for in that scenario? I thought the Canada guy got him in the shoulder with the check, and then his leg catches. The players, as these defensemen hold the puck and they're getting shifty and going side by side. And again, how much of the onus on kneeing is on the player hitting? Is it 100%? They have to put themselves in a position not to catch their leg, I assume.
Yeah, so the big tip off on kneeing is the separation of the thigh. So number one, if there's a separation of the thigh where your leg comes out and it separates from the other one, generally you're trying to knee them. You can't skate with your thigh separated like that. Spence, you know that it's just like slashing. If the two hands go together, we can't play hockey, right? You slashed them. Okay, let's just go to the box. But it comes up to that knee, and if it comes out and turns sideways and the guy's going by him, you're no longer making a hockey play at that point. You're sticking your knee out there. Why not move your shoulder or get in front of them? Or how about this? As they're skating by you, transition, skate forwards with them and force them off into the boards. Force them into a spot that's too small. Competitive play, right, for the puck. It's legal. It's still it's not body checking. It's body contact. It's a great play, but most players nowadays, it seems like they'd rather stick their knee out than make that quick turnaround and chase the guy. Yeah. I mean,
we see guys that just stick.
You let them go by. You don't let them go by. Hey, you try to get them, but if you miss them, chase them.
Yeah. There's guys that just try to leg trip guys. You see it all the time. Yeah. It's unfortunate because it's dangerous. And I know, me personally, I'm calling it. I don't care if the guy goes down or not. You're going to the box. That's just a chicken play. Not good for anybody. Not good for the game. Certainly not good for keeping guys on the ice, because if they make contact with them, they're going to wreck somebody. They may wreck themselves,
but just like the head, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the follow up on Connor Zary, but it took Patrick Laine. I'm not saying he's a superstar maybe anymore, but you're taking that guy now, and he's out of the game for 2 months. And the NHL is not better because of that. And you look at Matthews and Crosby and guys. Crosby had the head injury, could have ended his career. I mean, that was the reality. So I understand the onus. I think the more that we can teach coaches how to coach it, the better. And I know you guys are doing a great job of that, Brad, from an AHA standpoint. But it's still something down the line, in our organization that we're reconsidering. I don't know. With my two big guys, I've told them you're not going to be effective being a overly physical hockey player with the current way the rules are structured. You need to restructure your game, focus on the puck, and use your body, use your reach, use other advantages of being a big guy to affect the game. Because running guys over, fundamentally, I don't, at least from where I'm standing, as coach is saying, Ignatius, running guys over, it's not a net positive. You might get the big hit, but the momentum you get isn't worth the 2 minutes you're going to get the next time, or some of the craziness that comes from it.
No, I'm with you. You're definitely not effective sitting in the penalty box for 2 minutes. I get where you're coming from, and I get that too. And again, still, is the hitting has its place. So the hitting standard is out there, right? It's still finding where it gets. And what happens is the players get better and better as they evolve. Those big hits will come back. I guarantee you they will come back, and they're going to come twice as large as they were before, because I hadn't seen hip checks in probably 10 years, and I must have seen about a dozen of them this year. And that's from hard-working defensemen at top levels of either high school hockey or AAA hockey. And they're busting their ass to get backwards, and they line that guy up, and they hit him with the hip, and they crush him in the boards. And it's like, oh, wow. And everybody's like, well, he wasn't going for the puck. It's a play at this point, okay? It's a check. It's a good play. We're not going down this line. That's not what the rule's meant for. But I have seen some very, very impressive hip checks, and I can tell you, I probably haven't seen any in 10 years that were impressive, but these ones have been just glorious. And I'm not trying to say if anybody got hurt on them, hopefully they didn't, but I mean, these guys just accurately pinpointed these guys, and it was hard work by that defenseman in order to make up that ground and get that curve in and time it perfectly to just smash that guy into the boards. And you know what? All these guys skating down the boards every game, I don't know what you're doing. You're not Patrick Kane, sorry to say. And there was only one Patrick Kane, and we watch him do it a lot. I know that. When you run into the referee, though, you ain't going to score. Like go around the guy. Pick your head up. Like, when I played, we were taught not to skate by the boards. Because what would happen? You get slammed into the boards. Find open ice. Go to the open ice. Somebody will take the board spot. And then you keep moving. It's the thought process has changed. But that's what I would say. I just think as it goes forward,
if you don't want to get crushed, don't get near the boards. The open ice hit probably not going to be as bad as getting the big hit and having to deal with the boards and the glass at the same time. Think about that.
We've seen the NHL evolve, right? The Scott Stevens era. Asperitis, where guys are absolutely. I mean, it's gone, and the league survives. So sometimes you got to let it go. I think that's just one of the challenges that I've seen as a coach is trying to get that message across to guys on how they can be the most effective, not necessarily the most fun way to play. They might want to run around. Maybe they have text coming back. I think that would be an interesting thing to keep. And I don't think it's been taught in a long time. I mean, I was trying to think in the NHL who were great hit checkers.
Stevens, you're up there, buddy. Scott Stevens is my guy, man. That's.
And you want to learn how to play defense. All you got to do is watch that little 5-minute segment he did on Hockey Night in Canada, or one of the interviews about how to be a defenseman. With puck on, stick on puck, and keeping between everybody. He will teach a defenseman how to do this in no time. It was a great interview. If you haven't seen it, the YouTube video is up there. Check it out. It's awesome.
Steve Smith used to put on a lot of big hits with that hip. I'm trying to think of anybody recently. There's a guy on Toronto that used to hit a bunch of guys with the hip check. Oh, man. He was Russian. I can't think of his name. Yeah,
wasn't McGillney.
No. He probably only played here for 3 years, and then he went back and played in the K.
Right,
well, I'm looking forward to. I'm rooting for Ovechkin on the Russian side. I'm rooting for him to get the goal scoring title. Yeah,
I think
it's going to be exciting,
it, man.
Listen, I kept him on my fantasy team even when he was sitting out for 6 weeks or whatever it was. I'm like, I'm not getting rid of him. I'm waiting for him to put those points up for me.
Your fantasy team only has one win anyway, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I know. It's not doing well. I get it. I don't disagree. Well, when you draft 12th out of 13 or whatever, I think I drafted 11 out of 12, whatever it was, you can't get anything. It's tough.
Excuses.
Yeah, that's what it was. Absolutely. All right. How many games have you got left in your season, Spence?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know we've got 3 this weekend. I think we're looking at 16 here. We're looking at 16 here. Are
you doing a tournament over MLK weekend also?
No, we're not. We're taking that off. We did that last year. Again, we're trying to make this schedule. I preach a lot of it at Ignatius about nurturing the academics, family, faith. Looking for these guys have other things going on in their life. We love the hockey. Everyone's passionate about it. We're playing a crazy schedule. But you got to have balance, and these guys are not going to play hockey. So making sure that their grades are where they need to be, that they're taking the time to pick a college that's the right fit for them. Hopefully hockey's involved in that, but you just simply you got to buy in time for them to do other things. We want them to be at prom. We want them to be at homecoming and celebrating big basketball games and football games and that kind of thing. That's the student experience. So to me, hockey has to be careful taking that away, and we're certainly very intentional about that. They just
How many days a week are you guys on the ice?
We are on the ice 5 to 6.
Yeah.
We practice 3 times a week, and then we play weekday games and weekend games. We have 2 to 3 a week, so we're at least 5.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the program has changed so much in that 10-year period of time because, you guys have been a top dog for the last umpteen years, and, that wasn't the case many years ago. And that program, if anybody wants to see how you turn a program around, this was a program that you can really look at and watch the progress of this group because it's been amazing.
Yeah, thanks. We call it the 3 C's: care, character, compete. So, we feel like if you bring those 3 things, on and off the ice, you're going to have success. We have to close gaps. New Trier has 6, 7 teams, whatever it is. We have 3. You have to close other gaps. We have to be more intentional about the way we train. We have to make sure that, we're working with GBN and Goodman and making sure that these guys are getting exactly what they need. We have a mental skills coach, nutritionist. It really takes a village and it takes a culture to be able to close those gaps. And hopefully one day we'll be state champions.
Yeah, well, keep it up. You will definitely make it to that point. It's you could be the champions this year. You got a shot.
Still open.
That's right.
Yeah, we got some game breakers, and I've had a bunch of these guys for 3 years. They came in to the top varsity level as sophomores, and so definitely an opportunity I'm taking really seriously, and we're going to be laser focused next couple months.
Okay. Now, since we got you, we're going to let you get a plug for your bar that you've got as well. Because hockey does require beverages afterwards sometimes for the adults anyway. Tell us a little bit about your facility because you are right near the Blackhawks and.
Yeah, beverages are mandatory in our game. Of course, 21 plus. But Johnny's has the great sign that just says "going up." It says "going up," which is after a brewery game, and someone asks, "Hey, you going up?" Yeah, going up. And it's just nice. Hockey's such a great community. At the barn, we're walking distance from the United Center, so it's a 4-minute walk. And the cool part about it is it's a gathering of hockey people. I was talking about the Winter Classic. Why do I like it? You can't really see the puck, freezing outside. Wrigley's not my favorite getting in and out of. It's not the worst either, but what you're missing in all that is that you're around all these people that love hockey like you do. So going to the Winter Classic, I'm saying hi to everybody. People are having beers and good times and talking. Every single Wrigleyville bar was filled with hockey fans, and so that's what I love about the barn. You go on any given night, we're gonna have hockey on. We got the hockey game volume on for Blackhawks games and World Juniors and big games. During the playoffs, volume's on. And to be honest, it's a great place if you love the game to come hang out. And so I'm proud of that. And we've gotten the food right. And if you're going to go to an event at the United Center or you're playing us the third and coming downtown, check us out.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Spencer, I appreciate your coming on the show as well as Brad appreciates that. And you've been on the show before. You're always a great guest. So thank you. And, we wish you the best of luck with your season and your team this year. I know you guys have a shot at it. So, stay the focus, stay the course. And, maybe we'll see you at the United Center this year.
Sounds great. Appreciate you guys. Full team ahead here for the final push.
Okay. Anything you want to come up with in closing thoughts here?
No, I just, I think it's important for everybody to have conversations with refs and try to understand what's going on. The more, I really try to get first aims and have that dialogue and talk on a man-to-man basis. Simply, the game won't continue without referees. And so, I think more coaches and parents and players and everybody throughout needs to understand the value that refs have, and also that I don't think a ref wakes up in the morning and they're like, really have it out for St. Ignatius. That guy with a mustache is a real douchebag, and I'm going to give it to him. It's not that may be more likely in my case, but people need to understand that these are people literally making our game better. And the more conversation we have, I just like, what did you see that help me understand why it's 2-10? Because that way, we can help these kids be on the ice more. I mean, I don't want to play games that have 20 penalties in it. I don't. It's not good hockey. Kids are with four-line hockey. You got kids that are sitting on the bench and don't get to be on the ice. So, in all, the more dialogue we can have, the better. And I love that you guys created this platform for it.
Well, appreciate that.
Appreciate
Absolutely. That's the beauty, and we say this all the time when we have coaches like yourself that have been around, that understand the game. For the guys at the level that work those games, they get it too, and they have the rapport with you that they can have that conversation and they can explain to you why they made a call or didn't make a call. And I think that's really important, and I don't think you have that at some of the lower levels. You have newer referees or newer officials that don't know the coaches. The coaches haven't been around long. They don't have that rapport where they can say, look, this is what I saw. What did you see? And you can have that conversation and go from there. So sometimes it's a little tougher for the newer officials to be in that position than it is for the more experienced guys that or girls that may be working your games. And, that's the tough part about it. But, yeah, we do need referees, and, without them, you don't have hockey. You don't have a game. We got
That's
a
right.
couple.
Definitely.
Yeah, I got to say hello to a few people before we wrap this up. Karen, thanks for checking in. She said 2,000 seats, the third rink. They're planning figure skating. And Dave Daniels says, I love hockey. And Joe Prescott. Joe was supposed to have joined us today, but apparently he had no sound on his computer. Then he lost sound on his phone, too. So I don't know what the deal is there, Joe. I can't help you from here, buddy, but if you get a Mac, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you out there as much as I possibly can. So
Scott, I know what it is. You got to give him more AOL discs. He needs more free hours.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the
Pops.
dial-up service doesn't work as well. That's the problem. Yeah, absolutely.
And my understanding with the new rinks is hockey will be the focus. Figure skating. I think that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, 2,000 seats or whatever it ends up being, like, that is going to be so great for so many games, like state tournament games and championships for tournaments. And, oh, my gosh, I can only imagine what we can expect to see as far as quality hockey and something like that, because it's not too big. It's not 15,000 seats or 18,000 seats. You can fill this place up and the energy level will be off the chain. So I'm really excited that we're going to get something in that range of capacity that will.
They did a summer league too. They did that pro summer league with Kane playing in it and a bunch of other pros that pros that spend their summers here in Chicago and train here. That's an opportunity where it's like if you have 8,000 person arena and there's 2,000 people, it feels empty. If you
Yes.
have 1,500 people in 2,000 person arena, it is buzzing. My hope with that is that potentially they're talking to this new professional women's league as well. I have no idea, but wouldn't it be great to have one of those teams here? And I don't know if that size is good enough or not, but still, that's an opportunity to, like you said, to do showcases. And
Well, it would be a nice starting point.
Kids.
I'd love it if it was just sold out every night. That would be awesome, and then you can think about maybe getting something bigger at that point. But you've got something to start with that's a nice number. You put 2,000 people in a building, you've got a lot of energy and a lot of love in that room. It's going to be great for the players, great for the fans, and make it a hard to get ticket. I mean, 5,000 people want to go to the game. We got 2,000 seats. I can't think anything better right there.
I agree. Hold that demand.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, Spencer Montgomery, the hockey director for St. Ignatius College Prep, one of the good guys and a friend of the show. And we thank you for being on with us. And, of course, we got Mr. Brad Baumruck, our local referee-in-chief from Chicago over there, and myself, Scott Smokin Silz. We will be back again next Wednesday. You guys have a great week. Everybody else, referees, take another game. That's always appreciated. MLK weekend is coming, one of the last big weekends for tournament hockey in Chicagoland. And then, of course, we're right on to playoffs. So we will see you guys next Wednesday starting at 5:30 right here from Chicago.